Good evening. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us here. We have a lot of information to go through. We have some new information, which makes us think that I think we're going for those all-time highs. I have a couple nuances, a couple of things telling me that price wants to go higher. Okay, we're going to go through SPY, QQQ, VIX, NVDA, and Tesla. We're going to go on those on the daily time frame and then the 65-minute time frame. Well, also, if we have just a little bit of time, we'll retouch on the dollar, DXY, and TNX, the 10-year treasury rate. If we have time, we'll check on those. Otherwise, yesterday, you can check out that video, and we did an analysis on those items there. And I think that might be it, unless we think of something else. But the main point to this video is I think we're going to get a new high here and possibly new all-time highs just because of the moves that happened today, the support that held. And I'll show you exactly what happens if we break certain support areas, that we move back to our more bearish scenario. Either way, we're either going up a little bit and crashing the market, a big move down, or we're just going to bounce a little bit and head down lower. If we gap down and go, it's goodbye. So we'll be looking out for that tomorrow. Okay, so if you're new here, go down to that bottom right hand corner, hit that Options Tender logo, and subscribe. And don't forget to like the video. All you guys have been liking so much of these videos and really appreciate it. It's helping us grow this channel. Thank you very much. Let's dive right into it. We have SPY on the daily time frame. You notice this squared in area here. It's a consolidation area. You see all the price action back and forth. Well, that top line, the fuchsia line here, if we dig in, we got underneath but held that second one. So are we going to get back above? I think it would be a good confirmation that we get back above this 473 area and we start to get another wave up and possibly two more waves up. And I do believe that would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for an ending diagonal there. So we have this candle here. It's a bottoming doji candle. It's a hollow red candle. I do believe this is a possible reversal here. If we gap down and go, we know that that is not the truth, and we have a much more bearish scenario on our hands. So this 470 zone is our non-negotiable zone. Okay, we break down underneath this, and most of the things that I say today are off the table, and we just head lower. As of right now, I think we're going to eke out a couple new highs here, and that might take enough time to get into the January 31st FOMC minutes. So this upper trend line here may not be the end. I may have to redraw that just a little bit. I adjusted it for this being the top. Okay, so this, keep that with a grain of salt right now. It does have some nice touches on it, but we'll be watching for a little bit higher prices. All right. Checking out the reversal Williams R% indicator. I told you we're in a bearish situation on the daily time frame. So we're going to get some conflicting information here. We're heading to the downside. Really, we're still in bullish territory on this MACD. So we're going to have to keep this in mind. We're not out of our swing trades. We just added on some calls to protect the scenario that we might get a larger bounce. So that's how we're playing it. We're longer term bearish, but the short term calls literally for Friday in Tesla and NVIDIA. And stick around. I'll show you exactly why. And also a call or two in Qs and SPY, also IWM. I didn't mention IWM. We'll be taking a look at that as well. So with that said, we're holding the support area here. I do think we might go a little bit higher, but notice the 8 and 20 moving averages, the 8 exponential moving average and the 20 simple moving average, we're underneath those. Okay, very similar to here, where tomorrow, if we get a nice big move or into Friday, we could possibly make those highs. But remember what I said, we're underneath those now. We may reject off of them and start heading lower. So we'll take a look at the indicators that I'm talking about on the lower time frame. I guess I'll jump. We'll go through all of the daily time frames first, and you'll notice that we're pretty bearish in all the time frames on all the daily time frames for each of these situations. So our reversal signal, we're just now getting that sell signal. All right. So could this be a whipsaw? We're testing the 8 EMA and the 20 simple on the Qs as well. So this could be done, you guys. This could be done. But again, we'll show you the situations where we may get a significant bounce. Now on IWM, you'll see there's a nice support here. I'm pointing this right at this 189, this 190 area. We're right underneath there, but they're all zones. So like to spike through and catch your stops and head back the other way. But as of right now, this could be an easily, if we're in the bearish situation, this is a fake break. This could be a wave 2 consolidation, and we just continue to gap down lower. On the lower time frames, it does appear that we might have a 5-wave move in here. So we're at a minor support, and we could bounce, just like I talked about yesterday, back into test the top of the channel or something like that, and continue lower after that. So that's kind of a scenario that I think we'll be looking out for as soon as tomorrow. If you see some strength in the small caps and a few of these individual names that I'm talking about, then you'll be able to tell that this scenario might be live. Okay, so that's it on IWM. The VIX will also give us clues on what we're talking about here. And the major thing with the VIX is, I just said yesterday that we're looking to hit that 15 area. We start getting above 15, and we really should start taking off to the channel top in the 19 area fairly quickly. But we're getting a possible reversal candle off of this move here. We got all the way up to the 15, nice impulsive move. And what I'm thinking is we have 2, and I think we have a 3rd gap underneath where we might look to close at minimum this first gap. And again, on the lower time frame, you'll see why, so make sure you stick around. But if we get a close on this gap or even down a little bit lower, that will allow the market to continue to rise. So if we want to, if this is a valid reversal candle, we need to see some follow through. It's a great resistance that it pulled away from. And then we look for a higher low to continue to the upside. All right, going over to NVDA. For NVIDIA, we're looking at this channel. So the reason why I chose NVIDIA is because we have some potential upside still. All right, we reached the 550 target that I had going on in the Discord, the options guys. I talked about the 550 area. We had this breakout, and we had, if you consider this an ascending triangle, a 75% move was about the 550 area. Now, if you're considering the measure move, which I have here in the dashed line, that measure move is the width of this channel. And that brings us right into that 600 zone, a little bit underneath, right into that 600 zone. Now, I know this channel here, it might be just a slight bit low. I might have to adjust that with the wick here to get to the top of the wick. So that might just bring it up to about that 600 area. So just consider that a zone. It's not a crisp line that's definite. We have the breakout, and we're continuing to the upside. So we had some downward movement. We took some profit there, and we actually bought some calls into Friday and into next week on this move. We're considered a inside day here. And we'll see if we have this pause and then resumption of the trend. Tesla. So we're really considering NVIDIA. If the market's going to be strong, that we think we're going for that next 40-point move up to the 600 area. Now Tesla, you look at the white triangulation, that's all we're doing is triangulating price here. So we're getting tight in price with huge volatile moves. And we had this channel, possibly a flag breakout, broke back down from it and had a just a spot on move to the downside. And what we're looking at now is kind of contracting in size. We have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave impulsive move down. And I stick with that. I just think we're going to get a retracement, possibly up to this 435 area, and look for more downside from there. Now, if it continues to go up because of the market being strong, so be it. That's something that might come with it. But we have this reversal candle right on this very important support. Not only do we have a rising pivot, we have this support here that offers beautiful support. I know we have these whipsaws here in resistance, support resistance, and very good support here as well. So this is a very good spot that we could reverse on at minimum for a bounce. So we're using Tesla and NVIDIA and a couple of these calls in order to hedge our later date swings. So we want to protect our positions. We want to take profit when we can and continue to be bearish in really when we get down to these 65 minutes. And let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to show you the indicators along with technical analysis and also the Elliott wave for at least the indices, and really kind of concentrate on what's going on into tomorrow, into next week, and what we're looking for. So you see these basically fan lines here. It's a trend line. We broke another trend line, and it's very possible we just back test the trend line and we continue lower. But what I'm kind of looking at is a little bit of strength here. We'll be watching. We're not going to be too biased. We're gonna maintain our account, and we're gonna be very protective on these moves. Now, what we had here, it appears we had a 3-wave move for a new high, and that's the all-time high right there, you guys. And with this move down, it could be a 5-wave move, but it's really choppy. And you have some overlaps, and it feels choppy. It won't feel like this when we start our real move to the downside. It's going to be aggressive. You're going to see some long bars here. It's going to be similar to these trends on the upside. It's not going to be this choppiness to the downside. Now that could be just the beginning, and then we get a rejection and then sharp moves lower. So that's what we'll have to watch out for. But this low will be key here at the 466, but even this 470 area will be a good sign that something has changed if we get below there. Okay, so we can bring up our MACD, our RSI, and our Williams R percent, and you see everything's just oversold, and that's what it looks like all across the market on the big name tech stocks. Everything's made its pullback already, and we're really getting stretched, and we hardly made a correction so far. So that just gives me the clues that we have a little bit higher to go. And if we kind of pay attention to the top of this, you see that pivot up there. I think that's what we'd be looking for going into later days, up possibly to this 480 area, and maybe even a little bit higher. But I do think we may get all-time highs. We'll have to be careful of this trend line. It's really, at this point, it's just a pivot, just to be clear, because we're looking at this touch here, and really one other significant low here. So yeah, you got a little bit movement there, but this, it's kind of shaky. I wouldn't say this is just a solid trend line, not like these that you have multiple touches on. So I don't need to go through many more indicators. That's the main one. With the slow stoke, again, reached oversold areas already, and we hardly moved anywhere. So that's just a big sign that that was just a corrective move, and we have a little bit higher to go. All right, same with the Qs. It's no different at the oversold area, and actually are pushing higher, and we'll watch to see if we get any more of these resistances and things like that, negative divergences on some of the higher prices. Now, the Qs are giving us just a little bit of a different scenario here. We still have this trend line intact, and so you see we touched it here again, and we're bouncing off of it, and what appears to be a three-wave move down. So we're just kind of tightening up in price. This is possibly considered a wave 4 as a triangle, and then you get one more wave up. And it's also likely that this was the corrective move here for wave 4, and now we're getting our 1, 2, ending diagonal 3, 4, 5 on the way up there. Very similar to SPY. Now we've already reached new all-time highs for the Qs, and we'll keep that in mind that we don't really need to. We're not breaking anything new there. But as far as this downtrend line, we start breaking above there, you can hold that in place. You can use that as your back and continue to hold long on some of these shorter term positions. Now IWM, we want to show that importance of where price came into, and if we change the board here, you notice that that's our channel top here. That's about that a little under 200 area. So if we go to the 65 minute, you see this zone here about the 190. That's a big zone here on the lower time frame, and we got down to there, and also we actually touched down to this consolidation area here. So we're finding support, and we're also forming pretty much a channel. It could be a little bit more of a wedge, but either way, you see a channel-like formation, and you have positive divergence going into that formation, and this possibly is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a wave 5. You have that nice flat here, and then a 5-wave move down for 5. Okay, so this would be a hedge. Yes, can it go lower? It could gap down, continue lower. We could have this count wrong. These are speculative. They are just kind of giving us structure. Now this possibly could be just a 3-wave structure here, and we have a whole new wave up, and we continue higher. So what we'll keep in mind is the actual 200 area that I was talking about, and that's right where this gap is. And they start getting above this gap, and then we're starting to really get into those highs again, to where we could hold ground and continue higher. So we'll see how this plays out. We could break out of this and fall short, or I've seen really weird things on small caps, to where if the Qs start turning over and the small caps want to keep the market up going into the FOMC, possibly on January 31st, then this thing can just rip into 4 or 5% moves if it wants to. So we'll watch what happens if and when this starts to break out from this falling wedge or channel, and see what goes on there. That will be our hedge for some of our longer date options swings. So again, we'll visit this VIX, and you can see the VIX is right at that resistance area, and what it did is it actually just closed this gap here. We'll zoom in. We do have a gap here, an island gap. So technically this could just hold this island gap and continue higher. So when price opened, a big gap, we went up, didn't quite fill the gap, came back to the island gap, and made a new high here. And it looks like we still have a few pennies on this gap as well, and rejecting off of there. Now what I could see is possibly closing this gap, and it would even be sort of convenient for this gap to close as well, meaning that we had a formation here, we had a flag-like formation, consolidation, and we really broke out of it and held right at this spot here, and that's where we gapped up from. So I wouldn't be surprised if we close this gap as a back test to this breakout and left these open to continue higher. And so what that would do, it would give us a little bit of time for the market to go higher. And again, we can continue to go higher. If it just starts to break down and close all of these gaps here, I'd be really surprised to see that. But we break down from this one, then yeah, we can just certainly start closing down this one. And then we'll keep watching these key areas. So 14 will be key. We break down from 14, close the gap. That's going to be our primary target. Close this gap, and we'll be looking for 13. All right, break down from there, and I really think the market's kind of taken off much higher at this point, impulse, and not just like some sort of ending diagonal. So if we start getting price action down here with the VIX, then you know, the market's really doing something either super, super boring, going sideways, or flying high. All right, and then we'll kind of see if we're at 20 minutes. So if we zoom through NVIDIA, we got our point across that we had the breakout here. You see that breakout zone? We have the 618 of this movement here from the channel. And then we have our target up here about the 600 area. And what we're doing here on NVIDIA is after this breakout, we're starting to form a channel. If we have this point here, bottom here, and we held right here. So it's possible that this channel holds, and that would be a perfect, we could keep hold of this channel, we can continue to move higher to that 600 range. All right, breakdown from the channel, it seems a little less likely. It's possible this is a 3-wave move down. You get a 3-wave up and then a 5-wave down for a further correction. But I think we already corrected into the lower degree wave 4 here as a triangle. So I really think this move's done. And if the market's going to gather its legs and continue to grind to the upside, I think NVIDIA is going to hold this channel and continue to push with the market. As a matter of fact, it's been the leader. So if that continues to lead, that's what's going to happen. So we'll be looking for that to actually break out as soon as tomorrow as a trade setup there. We're already in it, so we don't need to, we just need to hold on tight. Okay, so Tesla, again, this nice sharp move down here. I do believe we have a 5-wave move, an ABC correction, a 5-wave move for a wave 3, a nice sharp move there for correction, and then you can see a much smaller 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to eke out a new low with divergence. And you can see that in pretty much all the indicators. We're actually getting a buy signal for the Williams R% with positive divergence in the MACD and the RSI. So great trade setup. And this is a zone. This is you can call it a fake break if it goes through there, but this is more of a zone than I consider a sharp 215 resistance here. I'd consider this that we're at support on a higher time frame. So with that said, this is an impulse move. We should see a 50-60% retracement, which would bring us right into this zone right about here with this consolidation. So that would be a nice spot to turn back as a bear. We'll see how the indicators prove that. So now that we've wrapped these up and we're looking for bounces and new all-time highs in certain names, we'll look at what will the dollar do? The dollar, it already had a breakout here. It's holding slight support, but again, this is a zone. This could be a fake break back down to retest this breakout area. If you see that happen, then you better believe the market's gonna have a tailwind behind it and be headed to the upside. So we had a nice breakout here, so that caused a correction in the market, or helped cause a correction, and we could backtest that area. But if we continue to hold up there, that's definitely gonna be a headwind on the market. Now this kind of an awkward inverse head and shoulder that was angling here, but you would consider that a breakout. Now, if rates start to continue higher, if they continue higher, that could be a headwind on the market. But seeing how we back tested and going straight up here, it's possible we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move. I would call this more of a pivot, but I could see this coming back to at least test the gap area here and to move higher from there. But we are getting movement in both those products that we talked about yesterday, and it certainly gave us a correction on the market. We'll see where that takes us. We'll have to look early on the day, the trading day, to see what kind of breadth we have. We'll be checking out the breadth, and I'll put that video, if you're not familiar with those, at the end here and post it up top. Also, we'll be looking at the VIX, we'll be looking at the dollar, and the 10-year treasury rate, and keeping an eye on those. If those give us bullish signals on the market, meaning that those head down, all three of them, VIX, dollar, treasury rates, head down, you'll better believe the market's going to have a tailwind. It's going to probably try to shake you out for a minute and then start to be carried by some of those large tech stocks, and possibly by the IWM and some of those small caps. And that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for joining us here at Options Center. Thanks for all the likes. We will talk to you soon, and have a wonderful night.